Summer's almost over, at least here in Slovakia, and I think that's the accurate time to start with our webinar about summer release of Resco in 2018. My name is Juraj Mojik, and I would like to welcome you to the Resco webinar about Resco Cloud version 11.1. And as usual, I'll start with a couple of things in the organizational area. So first of all, this webinar will take approximately 1 hour, maybe a couple of minutes more, depending on your questions. This webinar is also being recorded, and the recording will be available on YouTube shortly afterwards. The attendees on this webinar are at this moment muted, and you cannot ask your questions via voice, but you can write them into the GoToWebinar window, and I'll try to answer them at the end of the webinar with the help of my team. So feel free to write your questions during the GoToWebinar window at any time during the webinar. My name is Juraj Mojik. As I said, I'm a product manager at Resco, and today, with the help of the whole product team, with 3 of my colleagues, we would like to introduce to you the Resco Cloud version 11.1. This version is our summer release for 2018, and it has been released this June on 26th with more than 42 new features, including things like favorites, which were available in Resco mobile app for now, but they are now stored as records. One moment. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about are maps and the improvement that you can create new record on a map via tapping and holding. I'll also show you how to define or set up static images on EntityForms, and then we take a look at media tabs and documents. There have been quite a few improvements in this area. And finally, we've saved the best thing as the last, which is the new schedule board component, which my colleague Dušan will introduce to you at the end of the webinar. So let's start with the improvements in the area of mobile application. And the first thing I wanted to show you were the favorites. So if you haven't tried the favorites, if you haven't seen them in the mobile app, users can add records to their favorites. So each user can have a different set of favorites, which they can easily access from the home form item, and they can then quickly view the record, which is their favorite. You have to put an action on form or a view to have this favorite record available. So you have the ability to add a record into the favorites. Now, up until version 11.1, the favorites were stored on the device only. That means that as soon as you have uninstalled the application or used a different device, you didn't have the favorites stored. With the new version, they are now stored as records directly on the CRM server, which means that there is a special Resco entity called Resco Favorite, where all the favorites are stored with record ID and target storing the particular information. What's important about these two fields is that they are string fields. They are not lookup type fields, which is used for compatibility with different types of CRM systems. So we now store it this way, and you have to know this. If you would like to prepare favorites as part of your functionality, if you would like to prepare favorites for your users, you need to know how to define the records. To be able to create records on a map is actually very easy. You enable the map, and the users, by tapping and holding, can create new records. If they do it on the global map, this will show them this little dialog that lets them choose from the entity type they want to create. If they do it on the flipped view, so on an associated view on a form which has been flipped to a map, it will automatically create the record of the corresponding type. The latitude and longitude will be automatically filled in based on the location, and currently this is not really configurable. You cannot choose the fields which you want to use, or even if this feature is available. With the September release, which is already being developed, we have made some improvements to this functionality. It will be a bit more precise. You would be able to see it on a pen, but we will talk more about the improvements in the September webinar. Finally, I mentioned images on forms. Now, if you want to put some visual images on the forms, you have some options right now. You can use Media tab, which can show, for example, the notes entity or similar entities and display one particular note as an image on the form. But if you want to use the detail tabs, you had to use image items, which were dynamic. So that means that the image data comes from database. This was useful for product photos or contact photos. So basically, if there is a different image for different record. But the new option is to have a static image, which takes image from a project, which means if there is just one particular image that you would like to show for every form, this is the new option that we have just added. This is typically used for logos or visual clues, or basically trying to make the form looking more visual, more attractive to the user. There's one more option which you can use, the option set with icons. And if you would like to know how to set this one up, just look in one of my previous webinars and you will see how you can define different icons for different options in the pick list or option set. To be able to use static or project images on forms, you have to do following steps. You have to add an image item, so we still require image item to be present, and you have to define a special style. This style, it's really important that it doesn't have any image query. So there is this part image query, and this one has to be empty. One practical tip: if you are creating a new style or a style which is inheriting from some other style, make sure that you don't use this form node image or form entity image, because these two styles already have the image query filled in, and it will be difficult for you to remove it. So start with a style which doesn't have image query present yet. Once you create such a style which doesn't have the image query, all you have to do is go to the item, and there is the bending of this item in the Woodford, and there you just provide this type of text, meaning you will select the folder in the images section in mobile project, name of the image.png. This is what you have to put in as the binding, and then it will work. I will show you all of this in a demonstration. So let's start with the mobile application. As usual, I'm using the Windows 7 application, which is really handy for me to show on the screen. And I already have it pre-configured. So I have my favorites home item enabled through Woodford. And I have also gone through accounts, contacts, and leads and put some of them as my favorites. So let's visit one more lead, Yvonne. Go onto the form, onto the actions, and add as a favorite. So now if I go back to my favorites home item, my new lead is present here, and I can now synchronize and go quickly to the dynamics, where I have created a view to see the active favorites in my system. And let me just quickly refresh my view. And you can see that Yvonne is now present in my dynamics system as well. You can also see the important fields, so obviously the owner who is owning the favorite, but also the ID of the record and the target entity type. As I said, these two are just string or text fields, and that's how we store the value for the favorite. The second thing I wanted to show you were the how to create records through the map, and this doesn't require any additional setup. So I just go onto the map, and let me just go somewhere into Slovakia, and if I tap and hold, and as soon as I release, I will see the dialog, which allows me to choose the entity, so accounts, contacts, or leads. And if I select contact, you can see that if I go to address tab, I will have latitude and longitude filled in. You see that I don't have any of the street fields available. This means that we do not do the address resolution. We just provide latitude and longitude for the newly created record. If I close this one, go into accounts and open one of the accounts. Go into contacts and flip them to the map. Again, I can create a new contact just by tapping and holding. Okay, let me try a bit longer hold. And now you can see that the customer was automatically filled in, and also latitude and longitude fields. Now, as you could see, probably could see, this was quite quick, and I didn't have much time to be more precise and to really make sure that I'm pointing to the exact location which I want. And this is the improvement that we will make available with our September release. You will be able to really precisely zoom in, zoom out, and make sure that the pin is at the exact location that you would like to put it in. The final feature I talked about were the static images on the forms. And for that I have to do some Woodford setup. So I'll just go to Woodford, and what I need to do is I need to put some images into the images section at first. So I'll start with that, and I click on add, and I click on, here I select the controls directory or folder, and I create the first image which will be something like an icon for address. And I'll click here, select this one, and click add. I can add one more picture, which will be called, again I will select the controls directory, I will again call it somehow, so for example info, and select the other picture. Click add, and I can save my images. So I have added 2 custom images. If I click on this little mobile phone icon, I can see only the custom images which I have provided. So let's save them. And what I want to do is I want to put these 2 icons as static images on the account form for each of the sections. There is the general section with info, and there is the address section. So I'll open the account form, and I have the general and address sections here. So I'll just put one more image item as the first one. I will, let's do it this way. Now let's add one more image here. And before I continue, I'll create the style. I'll start with a clean one, so I'll click here, add, call this one static image. And I make sure that the image query is empty. I want to do 2 modifications. I don't want to see the label, so I'll make it hidden. And I also want to make sure that my image is centered. So editor alignment will be centered. Let's save this. And now to my images. So on the general tab, this image, I'll change the style to static image. Looks good. And now as the binding, I'll use controls, which is the name of my folder. I'll use info, which is the name of my image and write PNG in there. Similarly, on the address, I'll change the style to static image, put here controls, address.png. Oops. Like this. Save and publish, and we can check in the application. So after synchronization, my changes should be visible. So I will open account, open the edit form, and here you can see I have a static image on top of the info and static image on top of the address tab. Maybe this is not the ideal or best example what you can do with the static images, but I'm pretty sure that you can find your own uses for this. You can have multiple images and show them depending on the type of the account or the product, and you can really put visual clues, more visual information into the form to make sure that your users are navigating a visually attractive application. And for now, this was everything from my side. I would like to invite my colleague Tomáš to give you more information about the media tab and document improvements.
Thank you, Juraj. So let me jump to the next topic, which is media tab and documents. This is already existing feature which was already introduced back in 2016. Basically, it allows the system administrator user to bring some business logic to the form involving the media tab content. And right now, within the latest summer release, we have added two new properties that can add some more business logic here. So the first one is called isEditable. As the name suggests, this is a Boolean property, and it basically allows the system admin user to control the ability to edit the media tab's content. So the system administrator can set the media tab to be editable or not editable by simply using this property. The second property is called the commands mask, and this one can be used by the system administrator in order to define the specific actions on the media tab. Now, you might ask, how can we select the appropriate, or how can we say which code should be used for the media tab commands mask code? So this is why we bring this table of actions together with the hexadecimal codes. The first table shows the actions for the media tab that is empty, so it doesn't hold any information, any content inside. So you can see in the first column that are specific actions like capture ink, which is a different name for the signature. There's the ability to capture photo, etc., etc. And in the second column, there are the hexadecimal codes, unique for each action. In the next table, you can see the actions that might be available for non-empty media tab. So in this case, the media tab contains some content, either picture or video or signature. So you can select the hexadecimal code for example, resizing the image or editing the image, etc. In the third column, you can see some short description of each action. Now you might ask, okay, but we need to combine some actions in this media tab, so how can we do that? In order to combine the different actions, basically you need to calculate the correct code in order to be used for the rule editor. So here is a short procedure, short set of steps. How can you identify the correct code when combining different actions? So in the first step, you simply use the tables that I've shown you earlier and identify all the actions and the respective hexadecimal codes for these actions that you want to use in your business logic. Then you need to calculate the total sum of the selected hexadecimal codes. In a third step, you need to convert this sum, this hexadecimal code, into the decimals. And finally, you will need to use this decimal number for your commands mask property in the rules editor. I'm going to show you in the following demo how this can be done, but now let me say a few words about the next topic, which is a document edit roundtrip feature, specifically for iOS platform. This feature as well was introduced back in 2016, and basically it allowed the users, the mobile users, to open the attached documents in a third-party app, edit this document, and then easily save this document, this updated document, back in the Resco mobile CRM application. This feature is working perfectly on Android and Windows 10 devices. But due to some differences, some restrictions and limitation on iOS platform, the process of the document edit roundtrip is a little bit more complicated. It requires some more steps, so the user needs to at first delete the original document, and after deletion he needs to paste the updated document in the Resco application. Within the latest summer release, we've made some enhancements to this process on the iOS platform. So right now the changes are saved and visible in the mobile CRM app, and basically the round-trip process, as we call it, requires less interactions, less taps on the screen. Therefore, it's more intuitive, more straightforward for the user. So the user, when he's done with the updating the document in the third-party app, he doesn't need to delete the original document and paste the updated document anymore. He just needs to import the updated file in the form. And I'm going to show you in the next demo how does it looks like. So let me connect with the iPhone. So we are successfully connected, and first I'm going to show you the document edit roundtrip. So I'm going to launch the mobile application. Let's go to activities. Let's select, for instance, the service at Apollo activity or appointment, and in the notes sections you can see there is already a Word document attached to this note. So I'm gonna open this document, this Word document in the Microsoft Word application by pressing the Copy to Word button. Now, as you can see, the second application, the Microsoft Word, has opened. I need to save a copy with the exact name to the iPhone in order to be able to make some changes. And I can add something. This webinar is very useful. Now, when I'm done with the editing, I just need to send a copy of this updated document back to the mobile CRM app. So from the menu, I will choose the Copy to Mobile CRM button. And as you can see, the mobile CRM application automatically recognizes the updated document and asks me if I want to import this file. So I just simply push import, and you can see the content of this Word file is automatically updated. All I need to do is just press the save button, and this Word document is saved here. So as you can see, it requires a little bit less clicks, less taps on the screen. Now the second part of the demo, I'm going to present to you the Media tab rules enhancements. In order to do that, I'm going to need to do some customizations in the Woodford. So let me quickly go to Woodford. Let's open the mobile project. And basically what I want to do is I'd like to add some media tab called Photo on the appointment form. And I'm going to create the new on-change rule on the form. And the business case or the business rule will be like, if the appointment priority is high, then the user will be able to capture photo, clear this photo, resize image and edit image. In case the priority is normal, then the user will be able to take the picture and clear. And if the priority is low or empty, the media type is not editable. So let me open the form and let's just add a new media tab on the form, which is called Photo. Let's uncheck all these checkboxes. So there is a new Photo media tab. I'm gonna just quickly save. And what I'm gonna do next is to put the new on-change rule on this form. So the first condition, I'm gonna check if the change item is the field called priority code. Then the next condition will be checking the priority code value. So if the priority is high, Then we want to set the media tab called photo as editable. So I will set the is editable property as true. And in the next step, I'm going to use the commands mask property in order to set which actions are available for this priority. And for this, we need to add the numeric code here, and we're gonna need this nice looking table. Let me just switch back to the presentation where all codes are present. And I'm gonna need a calculator for this, of course. So the first one, we need to capture the photo. So there's code 2, so 2 plus. From the next table, I want to select some actions for the non-empty media tab. So we want to be able to clear the media tab, so we add 1000. Then we want to be able to resize the image, so we add 100,000. And last, we want to be able to edit image, so there's a code 4 million. So let me add 4 million. And this is the final code that I'm going to use, but not the hexadecimal, but the decimal. So let me just switch back to the Woodford. I'm going to write the decimal code in the field. All right. Then the next condition, if the priority code is equal to normal, then again we want this media tab to be editable, so which is editable as true. And then we need to set the commands mask for this option, and for normal priority we want to be able to capture photo and clear the photo. So for this case the correct code is 4098. And the last condition, if the priority is low, or if priority doesn't contain any data, in this case we need this media tab to be not editable. So I set is editable property as false. Okay. Okay. Just a small adjustment. We need to group it as OR. Thank you. And hopefully everything is fine, so just save and close. I'm gonna publish these changes and switch back to the mobile application. everything is published. So let me just switch back to the iPhone and resync. When everything is done, then I go to the activities. Let me select, for instance, the service at Apollo. And you can see there is a normal priority, so I should be able to capture the image. So let me just take the image. And I'm able to clear it. I don't have any other options. However, if I go back to this appointment and change the priority to high, you might notice there is a new more options button here, which allows me to do some specific actions on this media tab, so I can clear the picture, resize image, or edit image exactly as we want it. And if I select low priority or even clear the priority, then as you can see, there is no button. I don't have an option to make any changes to this media tab, so it's not editable at all. Thank you very much for listening, and now Zuzana will tell you some more about next feature.
Thank you, Tomáš. Hi everyone. Let me just close these tabs so I can go back to the presentation. So I will talk to you about new possibilities in our electronic signatures and about the possibility to use legally binding signatures in Resco. In addition to UniverSign, which was implemented in winter 2017, now we are introducing also another third-party provider, which is DocSign. Given that in Resco the standard signature is not legal in all countries, this possibility is especially useful for users in those countries when the signing process is a bit more complex, where you actually have to use legally binding signatures. As you probably know, in Resco it is possible to create and generate your own mobile reports completely offline. This is not a standard dynamic CRM or SRS report. It's actually a custom Resco format, which is defined by XML or via editor, and it's fully customizable to your needs in Woodford. So when we are speaking about DocSign integration, here we actually sign generated PDFs using a very easy process where we just put signature field in the report editor itself, which I'm just going to show you how to do that. So first of all, what we need in the Woodford setup are these 4 fields that are related to the DocSign connection. First of all, we need to allow DocSign to connect. So, I think that by default it's set up on true, so we don't really have to do anything here. Then, next possibility is to use DocSign Sandbox, which is a very good thing when you want to use DocSign for testing and it does not consume any of your licenses. And next step is when you actually have a paid DocSign account and you fill in these fields with the integrator and secret key. When we jump to the mobile report setup, all we do is basically just add a signature in a field we would like to, but we have to be careful because it needs to be named as signature 1, and in case we want a second signer, then we need to add an additional sign field named as signature 2. When we go to the application, some adjustments are needed here as well. First of all, we go to setup, where we find this field and accounts, and it says Dropbox. By clicking on it, we can connect directly into DocSign from the app. And then selecting e-signature, will take us to the DocSign app where we can directly sign the document like this, and this is what would like a simple generated signed report would look like. This red stamp up here just shows that basically this is my sandbox account, so it's used for testing purposes only. Just to be aware, this requires connectivity, so even though we can generate the mobile report offline, actually signing it by DocSign requires to be online. Let me proceed to the demo. So first of all, I will go to my project, to the configuration. Now I will search for those fields that are connected to DocSign setup. So first of all, as I said, this is default by true. And then I'm going to use actually my sandbox account so I don't consume my original licenses. And in this case, I don't need integrators or secret keys. We will save this. Right now we can jump out of the project and go to our mobile reports. I already have prepared one report. All I need to do is just to add the signature fields, like this, add sign. I can use any style as we are used to in mobile reports. I just put the text center, and I have to be careful with the name. Name needs to be signature one. I can also add this, just a text sign here. Oh, sorry, it didn't save. I have to press enter. Okay, and now I add a signature tool. Okay, and just to make it look nice, I also put sign here. Okay, now we should be good to go with regards to Woodford, so I save and close. Now I will show you what happens in the application itself. I will sync now. So first of all, we need to have a look in the setup and go to DocSign and click connect. Here we put our either sandbox account or our DocSign account. And password. Okay, it seems we logged in successfully. As you can see on the DocSign now, you can see the username of my account. We will save this. And we can proceed to an actual report, which I put into invoices, it doesn't matter. So you can see this is the report. I will run it. You can see these nice two signature fields here, so far with no signature. And you click on this button, you have a possibility to use e-signature, which means it basically takes you to the DocSign account which is already logged in. So I just put the signer number 1, I will put its name, and email. I will put my email in. What DocSign does after signing is that it actually sends the copies of the signed PDF to your emails. Okay, that's good. We can sign. Just to remind you, this step requires connectivity. Okay, so you can choose where to sign first. for the first person, I'm Bob Harlow. I can use this signature. Now finish from one person. And now we can proceed to the other person. And it's finished. Okay, as you can see, these documents are signed by legally binding signature from DocSign. You can of course do with this mobile report anything such as copy it, print it, save it, export it. And also, last but not least, these reports also with signature are stored under notes. And at the attachment you can see the pro forma invoice, which is already signed. And that is all from my part. Thank you for listening. And now I will introduce my colleague Dušan, who will tell you something more about the scheduling.
Hey, thank you, Zuzana. So let's proceed with our next feature on the list, which is our scheduler. Okay. Okay, as you can see from this print screen, now, probably you can see it now, as you can see from this print screen, this new feature added to our portfolio is visually very attractive. Okay. Okay, so the scheduler component itself in Resco, basically what is it for and what we can do with it. Basically it's a scheduling or a dispatcher board where in your organization you can assign some work to the people in your organization in a visual way. Okay, this feature is activated in Woodford and it's highly customizable. Basically, you can use scheduling for any entity. Okay. In manual mode, it comes with a drag and drop functionality. So, how can we configure it? Okay. So, basically, as mentioned, this feature is configured in Woodford. So once you open your Woodford, you will, the first step when you create a new scheduler is to select the entities that we would like to schedule the work for. So basically in the activity entity view, you select which entity you are going to create. So in this case here, we have appointment selected. So by dragging and dropping, appointment will be created. In the resource lookup field, that's basically the part that is on the left hand side where we have our resources or users that we assign the work for. And in the last step on this screen, which is the source lookup field, we're basically defining what work are we going to schedule for them. So in this case, we are referring to our accounts. So this would be a sales visit for an account, where you create an appointment for a user. Okay. The next fields that you need to set up is the status field and the scheduled start and end. Okay. The next step in the configuration in Woodford is assigning the behavior of the appointment statuses. Okay, so basically for each status of your appointment or any entity you choose, you need to set up how it's going to behave on the scheduling board, and you can also assign a color theme to it. Okay, so for each status you can have a different color, so it's easier to navigate on in the scheduling board. And the last step is basically selecting the views for the entities that you will use. What we call the source views is the work that you are assigning. In this you will select which view you want to have there, or and the last step is for the resource views for your users or the resources, the people in the organization that you will assign work to. Okay. Also, you can select the views. Okay. Let's see how it works in a demo. So let me open a Woodford. Okay. Here we are. So I will go into my Woodford. I can see I have this is the new piece edit that is scheduler here. Okay. I already have one configured, but I will add a new one. So as you can see, you can select multiple configurations that you can have in your organization and publish them in multiple projects in your organization if you want to. So let's see, scheduler demo. Okay, so this is the part where you're selecting the activity entity, as we call it. So basically which entity will be created. In this case, I will select appointment. Okay, then you need to select on which field is it linked to the people, to the resource. So basically here for appointment owner field, the only lookup I have is user, so it's automatically filled in. And the last step that we need to do is for which work it's going to be. So in the case of appointment, this is linked by regarding field where we have multiple lookups. In this case, I will go to this configuration with the account. As mentioned, we need to use the status reason and the start and end time, which as you can see are also pre-filled. Okay, here as mentioned, we need to configure how the application is going to behave. So for each status of the appointment, we need to put how it's going to behave on the scheduler board. Okay, so if it's free, I will put it like this. If it's tentative, let's say it's reserved. If it's completed, I have one corresponding cancelled. Okay, I will just do it quickly for the sake of time. And if it's out of office, it's like this. Okay, let's change some colors here. Let's make this green. Okay, in the source view, if I have multiple views, I can select which ones I want. Okay, let's say I want to display only my active accounts in this case. And for resources, I can do the same. I have just one view here, so I will make this initial one and save it. Okay, once done, you have to go and publish it, or better said, edit into the home screen so it appears on your mobile project, save it and publish it. Okay. Let me just do a quick change here. Okay, and here is my organization. Okay, let me synchronize. Okay, as you can see, my scheduler that I just added just popped up here. Okay, you can see there is another one that was done here previously. So, okay, so what do we have in the scheduler board? So, as you can see, now I have my users here that I signed in the configuration, and I have my active accounts here on the upper screen. Okay, you have multiple views. Now I'm in the 2 days view only. You can switch views. You can go back and forward in time. You can just go to a day. Okay, here we're at today. The day is practically over. Let's say I want to schedule something for the day of tomorrow. I can go. Let's say I want to do a visit in Apollo apartment building. I see Marcus has not much scheduled for tomorrow, so I can just drag and drop over to his lane in order to schedule it. As you can see, this change color and basically tells you if there is some conflict. You see that there is a conflict, so there is another meeting scheduled or another appointment scheduled, so I cannot put it there. I'll put it into the slot that is available. There are multiple options, what we can do. Let's say I double click it and open it. I know that this is not going to take just 1 hour, it will take three hours. That's what I estimate for, and I'll save it. You can see it's automatically extended. I can add him one visit more, put it here. I know this will also take 2 hours, not just one. Okay, I can change some things here as well. I have a quick view at the resource. I could open the form if I want to, so you can see that the appointment is already there. And I schedule it here. There are much more options what scheduler can do. Okay, I went to yesterday, so here we are. If I click and hold, there are another options that I can do. I can rebook it, substitute the resource, I can optimize it. As a dispatcher, I could also set it as completed or cancelled, but normally this would be done by the resources I assign the appointments to, so they would see it on their mobiles and update them as they go. Optimization is here. I see I have already some time that was improved, no errors. I'll save it. You can see this was moved over to the Marcus's beginning of the days, so the appointments are followed by one each other, so it is more convenient. There's much more that we could talk about the scheduler, and this will be done in a separate webinar dedicated just to scheduler that will be prepared in a near future. With this said, I will hand over the word back to Juraj.
Perfect. Thank you, Tomáš, Zuzana, and Dušan for great demos and explanations. I'd like to conclude our webinar with just a couple of additional notes and additional improvements that we have provided in our summer release. There is one very requested feature to be able to set up Exchange so that the same login that is in CRM will be used for Exchange. And you can now do this with Woodford. You can set this one to true, and the same username and password will be used. This is especially useful for situations where you have a policy where the password has to change every 3 months or quite often, and the users previously had to change their CRM password and their password for Exchange as well. Now with this you will have one less thing to worry about. You can also pre-fill the URL for the Exchange server via Woodford, and that will again save a lot of configuration in terms of Exchange. On Windows 7 application, so the application I used for my demo, that one uses Internet Explorer as the default browser to render the iframes, render the web pages. And Internet Explorer, as you probably already know, is not being developed anymore. So we have added one new feature where you can change to Chromium to be used on Windows 7 and really use the new features of Chrome to develop your applications. The Chromium is already embedded into the mobile application, so you don't even have to have Chrome installed. This will come as part of the application installation package. You can set up this in the application or in Woodford for the whole project. And I especially like this one because I do a lot of JavaScript, offline HTML development using the Windows 7 application because it's very convenient to debug and develop. So this one will allow you to use the new features in HTML and JavaScript, which you wouldn't be able to use otherwise. There are a lot of other new features like inline editing for multi-select pick lists on views. We now support Bluetooth RFID scanner on Android, or on Android we also have native PDF viewer, which is rendering the PDF files in a little bit different way, nicer way. We have improved the synchronization of SharePoint using the new SharePoint API or web services, which was long overdue, I have to say. And you can also use cloud documents on views where you want to show the thumbnails or the little images on the views. You could do that with the notes. Now you can do that with cloud documents. There is so much more. And what's even more important, there is new release coming soon. It's already almost September, and in September, by the end of September, you will see a new release by Resco with very interesting new features, followed by a new webinar about these features. And before we get to your questions, if you have some, feel free to write them into the webinar window right now. I just want to invite you to the Resco Next, which is our mobile CRM conference. It will be in November 15th and 16th in Prague, Czech Republic, where we will go through the very interesting topics of Resco, like mobile sales, field service, inspections module, the new route planner and maps, even city smart services. You will hear talks from our customers and partners. You will learn how to work with the tool and what we have up in our sleeve. So I highly recommend it. And if you want to register, go to resco.net/next to learn more. You've probably also heard that we've been in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for mobile application development platforms, which means that Resco is no longer a mobile CRM application development, but really a platform for developing mobile application. And again, if you would like to know more, just visit our website. There are lots of links about this particular feature. Now, to get to your questions, let me open up the window and let me try to answer what I can. If there will be questions to the specific sections, I'll invite my colleagues back to the webinar. But let's start with the first question. This is something which we were actually expecting. The settings for the masking rule, what Tomáš has been showing. Of course, we understand that creating those codes with your calculator and really putting the numbers together, it's a bit not user-friendly, and obviously we would like to have this in the future in a much nicer user experience way. But for now, this is the way how it works. We are happy that we have introduced this feature because it was requested by the customers. And in the future, especially once we finish our Woodford HTML transition, I expect this to get a much nicer, much more user-friendly interface which you could use. There is another question actually about scheduler and search in the scheduler. So probably this was very quick, but if you notice that you've seen that there was a long list of accounts which you could schedule to different resources. And obviously this list of accounts can be very, very long. So some kind of a search could be used. First of all, right now we have the support for views, so you can segment your accounts into different views and help with that. But we also understand that the search in this part of the scheduling board is important, and it's on our to-do list to provide it. Another question comes in question. I guess this is related to the images on forms, where probably you would like to display all images in a gallery-like component or view. So you are on a form, for example, for a product, and you would like to have like a gallery of all the product pictures that you have. Right now we are using for these types of use cases an HTML component. If you would be interested, write to mobilecrm@resco.net and we can provide you this example. But any gallery-like component, HTML component, can be used for this purpose and show the images. This requirement to have a gallery, however, is a bit common. It's not something that we are hearing for the first time, so it's probably a good idea to think about this on our end and maybe provide a native component to do this. the question about Dynamics 365 field service, and if the scheduling board can be used with this. Currently, our strategy is to use the Microsoft Field Service Scheduling Board. At this moment, is definitely much more feature-packed and much more suitable for the field service scenarios. It has capabilities which we don't have in the Resco scheduler, so we recommend using that. And we also recommend checking with the Resco representatives if in case you would like to use the scheduling board in some other way with the field service from Dynamics to check what are the licensing implications. If the scheduler board could be used as an organizer for a salesperson, exactly that is what Dušan has been showing with his demonstration. If you would like to use the scheduling board for the sales scenarios, feel free. It's exactly configurable for this way, and the configuration you've seen today does exactly that. So schedule accounts to your users and generates appointments. The sales appointments that they can do. And I think we have a final question for today. If there are more, feel free to write them. But this seems to be the last one in the list. So if the service activity entity works within the scheduler. So currently at this moment, all entities can be used in the scheduler. So it's really a matter of setting up the scheduler in Woodford. But before you would like to use any of the field service entities, Dynamics 365 field service entities in the scheduler, please contact Resco representative, your account manager, to check for the licensing implications. And with the last question answered, I would like to thank you for your attention. And I believe that within a couple of weeks' time, we will hear or see each other again with the webinar about our autumn release. So I'm already excited about that one. And once again, thank you for your time, for listening, and I hope you learned something new about Resco technology. Thank you and see you next time.